how do you suggest that we bring in acceptance of Scrum or Agile in organizations who has been running on waterfall and conditioned to follow that? So one thing which I always talk about this in my advanced classes is how do you become a great influencer? What are some of the traits of becoming a great influencer? So, okay, so what can influence people? So that's something which I would always look into. So, for example, there are things that I always say, like, okay, so how about talking to a senior director or a vice president and say that, hey, you know what, there is a company XYZ, they tried this approach for this problem, and this is what they could get at. Okay, so that's one way of take an example of a problem and see how you can influence people where there is an organization that solved the same problem with which we are struggling. So that's one way of influencing senior folks. The other way of influencing is I would buy a book and give it to them. And maybe a week later or two and ask them like, hey, you know what? So what did we, or let's say, is there something interesting you found in that book? So that's something. The third one is watch a video together. Maybe we call it as lunch and learn or something like that during the lunch, maybe an hour or two. Together, we watch a success story on YouTube or whatever it is. The other thing is, which I always say is like organize a coffee meetup on a Friday in your organization. So nowadays there are no physical meetups; it's all virtual. Virtual is even more easy. On a Friday, last 2 hours of the day, ask someone from outside who can come and talk about Agile in your organization. So any external person. The other way I look at it is like when you go back to office, you can probably test something called as the visual indicators. So display great visual indicators. I mean, in fact, we did this in some organization where in cafeteria and everything, we try to put in the organization where, hey, do you wanted to learn Agile? Okay, so our Agile ways of working, sign up at this link or something like that. So you can try. These are all multiple ways of influencing people. I mean, I'm not talking about selling Agile. It's all about influencing people to try out something really different than what they were doing before. So if you try different things, you get different results. Forget about these results being good or bad. But I would say, are we really willing to try something different? That's a real question. And assuming that they are willing to try something different, so how do you really start small? Let's say my approach is always taking a thin slice of a business unit or something like that. Maybe 3-4 teams that are willing to dance together. That are we call it as, there are some people call it as a dependencies. So take all these 3-4 teams that has to dance together into this journey and see how they have really got it, or what is the kind of progress they are making. Let's say maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the line, and what did we learn out of this, and see if we can ensure that we don't repeat the same mistakes for the next set of 4 or 5 teams. That's the way how I would look at it.
If I take this thing further and we explore again, so evangelizing and talking about things, helping people to see and experiment, that's the whole idea which Shekhar has shared. So I think I moved because we have many questions. Now the follow-up question is around SAFe. So I probably answer, there are a few more questions on SAFe. So I answer them all together. And yeah, so that's something we are exploring. So see, the whole idea of if I extend the question which the question is asking to Shekhar, or the point is that how do we sell idea of Agile, or how do we make people use Agile and Scrum where organization is not willing to do? And similarly, somebody will say, when we want to convince them doing something A, why don't we convince it for B? Or why don't we convince it for C? So, you want to convince an organization to do something, and that something could be many things. Yeah, so that's another challenge. So the whole idea here is why do we want to convince, and what are we trying to solve? So if we care for that problem, if the people are looking for some solution, they will try out whatever possible things can come up. So say if someone wants to lose weight, and if you give them some suggestion, they probably want to try it out. If someone is not willing to lose weight and you are trying to give a suggestion that you looks heavy, why don't you lose weight, the person will not take your advice. So first we need to see what is the problem, how can we quantify that problem, and is there any willingness to solve that problem. If there is no willingness, any perfect framework may also fail, because I don't care for my problem, I only doing something because someone told me to do, so let me show that I am doing, and ultimately I will say that this thing doesn't work. Yeah, better you give me something else. So if I care, I will fix my current waterfall also. Yeah, I may make my waterfall agile in a way, and it may look like waterfall to some, but for me it has already become agile if I really care for my problem. So let's see from that perspective as our clients, and then probably we will see the A solution, B solution, C solution, Safe, Scrum, Kanban, or something else might be needed. But yes, there are adaptions, there are jobs. Those questions are easy to answer, but it's difficult to find out and say that which organization will really get a value from which particular framework.
Yeah.
So
Just to add to us, I would always say why we are doing certain things certain way without understanding why. So it's not a competition that is running between Safe and Scrum or something like that. So it's all about why we are doing certain things certain way. And if a problem could be a simple problem, or it could be a business goal, or whatever it is, and if that can be fixed by Scrum very easily, then why Safe? Or I have a very huge organization, and these organizations don't know how to walk together, but they wanted to run. And I know the future, how this is going to be. So many times I would say, okay, walk before you run. Okay, so do you wanted to start really small and test the waters before you wanted to scale? Or sometimes descaling also can solve the problems. So we don't know. There are so many things that are unknowns. So only the problem statement is something that is really going to make the difference. That's what I would say. And honestly, there is no race between Safe, Scrum, or whoever it is. So the idea is very simple. It is the problem that is going to help us to choose one over the other. Or just like, okay, if my traditional ways of working is also going to fix this problem, then just go ahead and do it. Yeah.